Closed doors, I'm a fool for your love.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another exciting episode of Real Talk. I want to say a special thank you to everyone that has been showing the show love, the persons that have been sharing, liking, and even subscribing to the channel. I say thank you. Today, we have the beautiful Vanessa Marshall on set.
Thank you.
And we will be talking about the new journey that she started, which is the Happy Kitty. Vanessa, welcome to Real Talk.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you. Before we get into, the Happy Kitty, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so as you just said, my name is Vanessa. I am a 22-year-old first-year med student at the American University of Antigua. I have hopes of pursuing a career in fertility, specialty in fertility medicine, as well as high-risk pregnancies. But for right now, I am focusing on achieving my medical qualifications.
Nice. Well, congratulations on that. I know that we, as Caribbean people, especially Black women, you guys are very much determined, and you go for what you want. So I wish you the best on that journey.
Thank you.
A few weeks ago, I remember getting a DM from you on Instagram, and you sent me the Happy Kitty page, and right away when I looked at it and I saw what it was all about, I was excited about it, and I shared it on my platform, and I wanted more. I wanted to know more about it as a man, and I think it's what you're trying to do. It is very important, not just for women, but for men also, to learn about the vagina, right?
I agree.
And that's the reason why you're here. So I have the questions written on my phone, people, because I have a few important questions that I don't want to miss. So that's the reason why my phone is a man. All right? So let's go. Vanessa, the Happy Kitty, right? The Healthy Vagina Project.
Yes.
What is this page all about?
Well, generally, it's a feminine hygiene project, and generally the page is an educational page. It seeks to educate females, young women of any age, really, on topics from basic anatomy to more recent and relevant topics such as breast cancer, breast examinations, as well as more uncomfortable topics like yeast infections, STIs, and stuff like that. So really, I look at the page as an educational page.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm thankful that you're doing that, because these are the things that we don't talk about. Vagina health, and like you said, yeast infections, things like that. When I was in school, no one, I can't remember us having a session in school that taught us about, ourselves, our body parts.
I agree.
So I'm happy that right now in 2020, that as a young 22-year-old Black woman, you've started something in Antigua. And I still want to know a bit more as to what inspired you, to start this journey.
Well, personally, I feel like there's a lot of misinformation and misconceptions about feminine health and taboos about speaking on the issue. I also feel like, feminine health and science in itself is something that's constantly changing. There's constantly research on the issue. There's constantly more information being brought forward. So having a platform that shares with you this information, this up-to-date information, is very important, because something that might have been relevant to your feminine health or vaginal health a year ago, a year later may no longer apply, because things are constantly changing. And I think having a page like this is not only accessible to young people, is important to keep up with these changes. I think as a younger generation, we consume information and interact with information differently than our parents and grandparents did. So while the information that I'm providing, a lot of it might not necessarily be new information or things that are unknown, but with how we consume information as a younger generation in terms of social media, we might not interact with this information, so we don't know. So I think creating the page will help solve this issue and allow for a much wider audience to interact with this information.
And it will happen. Social media is running the world right now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women out there who, they have certain issues about themselves that, they go to doctors, and they're just not getting the answer. And I'm not saying that the Happy Kitty page will give them all the answers, right? But if you can scroll down Instagram and you can sit down in the comfort of your home and read up on something about your vagina, and you can get that education that you don't have and know how to deal with going forward, I think it's a great thing, and it will grow.
Yes,
right?
thank you.
I hope so. The next question, right, that I wanted to ask, I'm not sure if you would have the stats, because this question is like, are there more women who deal with unhealthy vaginas than those who don't? I'm not sure if you would know this. But
well, I don't have specific statistics, but I think most, if not every woman at some point is going to be curious or have concerns about their vaginal health. It's only natural. I mean, you can be completely healthy and require information about vaginal health. For example, if you're trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
But it's very, regardless of whether or not you have these issues, as I said, I'm a first year medical student, and something that's often told us in the first year is that how they approach teaching is teaching us about each individual system and how the normal functioning of the system is. And the reason they do this is because they constantly express that it is important to understand the normal functioning of the system in order for us to identify what is abnormal. And I think the same idea can apply to vaginal health. If we as females or women understand what is normal and what's okay with our body, then if something happens and something changes that's off, then we'll be able to recognize it faster. And if there's an issue and that we recognize it faster, you go to the doctor faster, there's a treatment faster. And generally, if there's a treatment for an issue faster, then the prognosis or outcome of that issue tends to be better than if there's a longer wait period before you know that something has gone wrong.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been learning about women and the vagina is that there's a lot of normal things that happens to the vagina. As much as I don't have one, like I said, I'm educating myself about it, because as a man who is in a relationship and will have a daughter at some point in life, God bless me with one, I want to know these things, so that I can then teach them about it. Right? What are some of the normal things that would happen to a vagina that women don't need to worry about? Because sometimes they don't know.
Well, one of the biggest things, I think, especially in the Caribbean community, especially that we hear is like, pussy clean, there's no discharge, there's nothing wrong with it. If your vagina has no discharge whatsoever, then that is abnormal. That is not normal. And I think oftentimes females feel like, okay, because in our community, and I think that's an idea that has been perpetuated by a lot of male figures in the community, especially with our music, that a vagina should have no discharge, a vagina should have no smell. Smell and discharge is normal. And so when this happens, women feel like, oh, this is strange. I've done a post about this, about as a woman moves through her cycle, her discharge will change. And of course, there is abnormal discharge for you to be worried about. But as I just said, if you know what's normal, then you can identify what's abnormal. So discharge, as I think in the post, post that I've had, I have up already says that, before your period, your discharge tends to be very dry, and women experience dryness. It's little to no discharge. If you do have discharge, it's thick. It can be clear or white and clumpy.
And that's before your cycle.
That's before your cycle is 28-day period. So it's before the first day of the cycle, which is your period, the first day of your period. During your period, you can have red discharge or brown discharge. That's completely normal. That's because, you're losing blood. After your period, towards ovulation, women tend to have a lot more discharge. It's very wet. It's sticky. It's moist. It tends to be translucent and clear. And that's because your body's preparing itself for ovulation. And that's a point where you're more likely to get pregnant. Yes, and so all of this is normal. Women should not feel ashamed about having discharge, and I think that's something that's completely normal that people should know.
Boy, you see, like I learned something just now from you.
Great.
That I didn't know. You know, I remember growing up, like my mom didn't want to talk about the vagina in front of me, and so like I said, I had to.
You find things out on your own, and it's not necessarily the best information.
And that's not good, because the only thing we know as men when it comes to vagina is that, women see their period every month, and we have sex with that vagina. We don't understand the technical things that come with the vagina and how much care you need to put into the vagina.
Very much so.
And so only now as a man I'm learning these things, right? So my next question is, do you think that there needs to be more awareness about vaginas, and do you think that most women know the steps as to how to take care of themselves?
I mean, definitely. I think awareness, as I said before, the page is all about education, and I feel like education is never a problem. As I said, information surrounding vaginal health and feminine care is constantly changing. So even if you think you know something, staying up to date with pages such as a Happy Kitty or Planned Parenthood, they provide you with information as to what is the information or the perception you have correct. And even if the perception you have is already correct, there's nothing wrong with brushing up on information you already know. There's nothing wrong with education.
And for men, right? How can we as men, get more involved, with everything when it comes to the woman, when it comes to the health of the vagina? Because I think men play a role in unhealthy vagina sometimes, most times.
Absolutely, 100%. Men do have an effect on the health of a woman's vagina, especially in cases where you're having unprotected sex. So there's the obvious situation where, STIs and sexually transmitted infections like herpes, AIDS, the common ones. Mm-hmm. But there are also less common scenarios that you might not necessarily think of. So there's like some of the most common infections for women are BV, which is bacterial vaginosis, trichomoniasis, and yeast infections. Now, the chances of a woman receiving these infections are much, much higher if she's having unprotected sex with a man. The reason for this is because a vagina has a very sensitive pH balance. Its pH balance should be between 3.8 to 4.5, so it's acidic. Now, if you're having sex with a man who is not necessarily hygienic, you go for a run, you play sports, you come back and you have unprotected sex, you're not bathing, you're not cleaning yourself, you can introduce bacteria to her vagina that throws off the pH balance that results in one of the infections that I just mentioned. You can also, in trichomoniasis, there's a little parasite that lives on the skin of the penis that has no effect on men, but causes a bad odor in the vagina of women, a fishy odor. So oftentimes when you hear men say, oh, her vagina smells like fish, well, you could be the cause of that. So
if you're not circumcised,
well, it's more likely if you're not circumcised, but more because you have to take more care in cleaning yourself. But a person who is circumcised can cause the same amount of damage if they're not careful. Something else that people don't necessarily think about is, as I said, the vagina is very acidic. So, you have sex, men enjoy ejaculating, releasing themselves inside their partner, but the semen is actually very alkaline or basic. And the reason that is to help the sperm survive and increase the chances of them making it to the egg. But what also happens is if you're constantly ejaculating inside of your partner, you throw off her pH balance again, and that creates the issues of yeast infection or bacterial vaginosis that I just mentioned. So I'm not saying you can't ever do it, but you just have to be mindful that this is not the behavior that I should have all the time.
But I don't mean to laugh, right? But there's a lot of, I said, like I can talk from a man, right?
Yeah.
because we don't know these things.
Yeah.
We just do things, we just say, boy, you know what, me, the talking is boy, me,
Yeah.
me bust my water, and me do what me have to do, and don't understand that sometimes we're causing harm to the woman, and sometimes because the woman don't know better neither.
Exactly. So if you don't know better, then you can't say, hey, this is an issue for me. I would prefer if you did this. So it comes down to it can be ignorance on both parts.
Yeah.
But so that's okay. Not no one knows everything, and sometimes we're not. A lot of times we aren't exposed to this information when we're younger because it's seen as inappropriate. But then because we're never exposed to it, we grow up and we make these mistakes ourselves. So that's why the page is here. Follow the page, read the information, and we'll help. The project is to try and educate people on these topics. Something else that happens is like you're in the mood, you start your foreplay, your hands carry so much bacteria under your nails. Wash your hands, men or women. You never know. Keep your nails cut short. Keep your nails clean, because when you take care of your hygiene, you're taking care of your partner as well, or the vagina that you love. Sorry.
Oh, wow. So you hear it, people, especially the men that will be watching this. Take care of yourself. You can't just go and run and go and jog and go and play basketball and football and just come home and want to knock on quickie. Ladies, don't allow that. It's not healthy. It's not right. Because sometimes we love quickie now.
Yes.
Sometimes you get to a little, you get to it from a little.
Yeah, I've even heard situations like, a guy might say, but I love it when she just come back from the gym and she smells. But then no, okay, you might love the scent, it turns you on. But that's not necessarily the best thing for her or you. So while the chance of it affecting you or having a negative effect on your penile health is low, it will have effect on her vaginal health.
God bless them kind of people. I don't know how we can want to jump on somebody that just come off the gym. Or just don't sweat up and say.
You never know.
But to each his own.
Yes, exactly.
Let's go into, let's stray a little bit away from the Happy Kitty and talk about school programs, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier in the conversation, when I was in school, there was no programs in school to educate us, male or female, about sex, about our body parts, right?
Yes.
How important do you think it is that we start teaching young people, I'm talking about kids that are in school, about these things, teaching them how to take care of their body parts at an early age?
Well, personally, I think this type of education can start from high school. I think it's very important because, as I said, if you know about the normal, then you can know what is abnormal. And these issues don't necessarily, abnormal issues with vaginal health don't necessarily just affect adults and people over the age of 18. You don't turn 18 and then all of a sudden you have these issues. Because vaginal health problems don't just surround sexual health problems. You can have problems, as I said, BV, yeast infection, trichomoniasis, without ever having sex. Some people are just more prone to it than others. You also have issues like pelvic floor issues, which is like when the pelvic floor muscles are weak. So basically the ligaments that hold up your uterus and the vaginal walls are weak, which is why women are encouraged to do Kegel exercises. When these muscles get weak, your uterus can literally fall out. So very important, ladies, do your Kegels. This is some educating your high school students about what is normal and checking themselves, like look in the mirror, look for anything that's down there, because high school, when you're 15, 16, you might tend to pull away from your parents, but then 15-year-olds, 60-year-olds can get HPV. You can get cervical cancer, vaginal cancer. If you notice, if you're teaching your kids from a young age to check themselves, is anything strange? Look at your arms, look at your breasts, look at your vagina, look at your mirror, look. And they notice that something is wrong, then they'll feel comfortable coming to you and say, hey, mom, dad, I see something down there and I think it's weird. Can we go to a doctor? So vaginal health is not just about sexual health. It's about much more.
Well, thank you so much for that. I don't need to add anything else to that, right? Again, we're straying away from the Happy Kitty just a little bit, and I want to know what are your plans, after medical school? I know you just started the journey of being in medical school, but we always have to think ahead, and sometimes you don't want to count the eggs before
they hatch.
they hatch, right?
Yeah.
What's your plan?
I mean, I think taking the steps one at a time is just as important as seeing the bigger picture. So while I do have hopes to come home and give as much back to Antigua, the community has given so much to me. When I'm finished my education and I've obtained the necessary experience, right now my focus is just on having a good grasp and knowledge and understanding of the work that's presented to me in my course. So when I'm obtaining my qualifications as well, so when I do obtain my qualifications, that I can provide persons with quality care and actually just know what I'm doing. So yes, right now my main focus is on my education and obtaining those qualifications. And so yeah, those are my plans.
I wish you the best on that journey.
Thank you.
Putting that out there, I wish you the best on that.
Thank you.
Cool. The best on that journey, and back to the Happy Kitty now.
Yes.
Do you ever do you see the Happy Kitty being more than just the Instagram page? Like with that, where do you see that going?
As I said, I am currently focusing on just obtaining my qualifications and just being a good student. But I'm extremely grateful for all the support and how well received the Happy Kitty has been.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the page, it is still I still just see it as an Instagram page for now.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it can't grow into more.
Yep.
I think I'm just going to let the page progress naturally and continue to give good quality information as to the best of my ability, and then see where it goes from there.
Nice. And go on.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully the page will progress with me throughout my medical career, my medical education, hopefully a career as well. And yeah, that's it.
And I'm so thankful that you came through today and shared these information, things that I think we all need to hear. And I'm rooting for the men especially to take advantage of what was said today.
Yeah.
And try to learn.
And I'd also just like to say, for all the men or women out there with female partners, something that you can do to help look after the vagina that you're partaking in or sleeping with is that, one, through education, educating yourself and familiarizing yourself with what's normal, what's healthy, so you can know what's okay, what's not okay, like I just said. But also, sorry, I keep saying but also, I lost my train of thought. But also, being open and honest with your partner about any changes that you notice, but such as this might be an uncomfortable topic. Like if some talks are more uncomfortable than others, for example, if you notice a strange smell, it might not be easy for you to say to your partner, hey, I think you smell. Mm-hmm. But oftentimes, the person that we're sleeping with will notice changes in our body before we do.
Yeah.
So being able to go to your partner and say, hey, I think you need to check this out, I think that's important as well. And
I know for sure that's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because I know most people don't want to go to a partner and say, look, you have a smell, or you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings.
No, you don't, but it's important. You can say, look, I know this is uncomfortable, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I think you need to get this checked out.
Nice. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for passing through Real Talk.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure having you. Trust me, I'm over here, and I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit nervous because of the topic, and I just wanted to make sure that I asked the right questions and didn't come across as a creep because it's very sensitive.
It is a sensitive topic, but I think you did a good job. I think the questions were good.
Thank you.
I hope I answered them well.
I think you did a great job, man, and thank you so much. Before we go, I would love for you to let people know where they can follow the page and just give them one more rundown as to what the Happy Kitty is about.
Well, for those of you who are interested, and I hope all of you are, you can follow the page on Instagram. It's called the_Happy Kitty, a healthy vagina project. You can, if there are any topics that you're interested in me looking up, just send me a DM. Hey, you want to know information about this? And I'll do my best to find information on that particular topic and I'll do a post about it. So yes, check the page out on Instagram. The Happy Kitty is an educational page, so all the information that I post on the page is based off of research alone. At the end of each post, you'll see the sources where I got the information from. So if you feel like you want to do a bit more extra reading than what is in the post, you can do so. Also, I just want to let everyone know, remind everyone that I am not a medical doctor yet. So the page is not a source or your answer to solve any gynecological issues. If you have a problem or anything that I have posted on the page doesn't necessarily match up with what you feel, and you just have a question about it, that's fine. Ask your doctor. That's perfectly okay. So yeah.
I'm happy that you put that in, because Antigua people
Yes.
funny, and they go feel like you're a doctor and they go want to find all of the
No,
doctors, right?
I am not a doctor.
Put that out there. You heard it, people. You just heard from Vanessa Marshall, and we spoke about Happy Kitty today, and I hope that you had a good time. What I want from you guys, though, is for you to leave your comment below. Leave your comments below. Let us know how you feel about this Real Talk episode. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Wright. I'm out.